Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Today's World News Headline Summary. 1. CNN. 1-1. U.S. and Iran trade new strikes amid Strait of Hormuz tensions. The United States and Iran have exchanged a fresh wave of military strikes overnight, severely escalating the conflict over the control of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. launched targeted attacks aimed at degrading Iran's ability to disrupt international shipping in the strategic maritime corridor, hitting dozens of targets. In swift retaliation, Iran claimed to have launched drones targeting American military infrastructure in several Gulf nations, including Bahrain and Kuwait. One report noted, the ceasefire has crumbled as U.S. forces hit dozens of targets in Iran for the second night in a row. This rapid deterioration of regional security poses a massive threat to global trade and highlights the extreme fragility of diplomatic agreements in the Middle East. Vocabulary. Escalate. Verb. 악화되다, 고조되다. The border conflict continues to escalate rapidly. Degrade. Verb. 저하시키다, 약화시키다. The strikes were aimed at degrading the enemy's military capabilities. Disrupt. Verb. 방해하다, 지장을 주다. Protesters attempted to disrupt the international summit. Strategic. Adjective. 전략적인. The strait is a strategic corridor for global trade. Retaliation. Noun. 보복, 안갚음. The missile launch was in retaliation for the recent sanctions. Infrastructure. Noun. 기반시설. The earthquake caused massive damage to the city's infrastructure. Crumble. Verb. 무너지다, 붕괴하다. The peace agreement began to crumble after the attack. Fragility. Noun. 취약성. The crisis highlighted the fragility of the global supply chain. 시사 용어 해설. Strait of Hormuz. 호르무즈 해협. 중동의 페르시아만과 오만만을 연결하는 좁은 해협으로 전 세계 원유 물동량의 약 20%가 통과하는 글로벌 에너지 안보의 핵심, 초크포인트, 전략적 요충지입니다. 봉쇄 시 글로벌 유가 폭등을 유발합니다.
Sudden death of Senator Lindsey Graham sends shockwaves through Capitol Hill. The sudden death of Senator Lindsey Graham, a longtime South Carolina Republican and key ally to President Donald Trump, has sent shockwaves through Capitol Hill. A preliminary finding from the medical examiner revealed that the 71-year-old senator suffered a fatal aortic dissection linked to cardiovascular disease. Graham passed away shortly after returning from a diplomatic trip to Ukraine, where he championed a new package of sanctions against Russia. His unexpected departure leaves a significant void in the U.S. Senate and deeply impacts the Republican Party's strategic maneuvering ahead of the midterm elections. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle have expressed profound sorrow, praising him as a true statesman despite fierce political differences. Vocabulary. Shockwave. Noun. 충격파, 파장. The resignation sent shockwaves through the financial markets. Preliminary. Adjective. 예비해, 임시해. Preliminary findings suggest the fire was caused by an electrical fault. Dissection. Noun. 해부, 절개, 의학, 박리. The cause of death was confirmed as an aortic dissection. Champion. Verb. 옹호하다, 위해 싸우다. She has championed the cause of human rights for decades. Void. Noun. 공백, 빈 공간. His retirement will leave a huge void in the organization. Maneuver. Noun. 책략, 작전 행동. The political maneuver was designed to gain voter support. Aisle. Noun. 통로, 정치, 여야 양당. Politicians from both sides of the aisle supported the bill. Statesman. Noun. 존경받는 정치인. He was remembered as a brilliant diplomat and statesman. 시사 용어 해설. Both sides of the aisle. 여야 양당. 미국 의회에서 의원석의 가운데 통로, aisle,
를 기준으로 민주당과 공화당이 나뉘어 앉는 데서 유래한 표현입니다. 양당이 이념을 넘어 협력하거나 공감대를 형성할 때 주로 쓰입니다.
1-3. Bangkok pub fire kills at least 27 and injures dozens. A devastating fire swept through a densely packed pub in Bangkok, Thailand, resulting in the tragic deaths of at least 27 people. Dozens of other patrons sustained critical injuries and are currently receiving intensive medical care at local hospitals. Preliminary investigations are heavily focused on determining whether an electrical short circuit triggered the catastrophic blaze. Furthermore, authorities are scrutinizing reports suggesting that blocked fire exits effectively trapped the terrified victims inside the venue. This harrowing incident has sparked widespread public outrage and urgent demands for stricter enforcement of safety regulations in crowded entertainment venues. Vocabulary: devastating. Adjective: 파괴적인, 치명적인. The town was completely destroyed by a devastating earthquake. Patron. Noun: 고객, 단골. The pub owner warmly greeted the regular patrons. Intensive. Adjective: 집중적인. The patient was immediately moved to the intensive care unit. Catastrophic. Adjective: 파멸적인, 대재앙의. The failure of the dam had catastrophic consequences. Scrutinize. Verb: 세밀히 조사하다. The auditor will closely scrutinize the company's financial records. Trap. Verb: 가두다, 덫을 놓다. Several miners were trapped underground after the collapse. Harrowing. Adjective: 끔찍한, 참혹한. The survivors shared their harrowing experiences with the media. Enforcement. Noun: 법률의 시행, 집행. Strict enforcement of speed limits has reduced traffic accidents. 시사용어 해설. Short circuit, 합선, 단락. 전선의 절연체가 파손되어 전류가 정상적인 회로를 벗어나 비정상적으로 흐르는 현상입니다. 이 과정에서 막대한 열이 발생하여 건물 화재의 주된 원인이 되곤 합니다. 2. BBC 2-1. Trump warns Iran will be hit very hard amid rising Middle East tensions. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a stern warning that Iran will be hit very hard in the coming days, adding that significant damage has already been inflicted upon their military assets. Furthermore, the U.S. Defense Secretary stated that Iran's new supreme leader is reportedly in hiding and likely wounded, although these specific claims remain unverified. The conflict's scope is dangerously expanding as the Israeli military executed multiple waves of airstrikes across Lebanon. This Israeli offensive was a direct response to the Iranian-backed armed group Hezbollah launching approximately 200 rockets into northern Israel. The simultaneous military engagements underscore a highly volatile situation that threatens to engulf the entire Middle East in a broader conflict. Vocabulary: inflict. Verb: 고통 피해를 가하다. The hurricane inflicted severe damage on the coastal towns. Unverified. Adjective: 확인되지 않은. The news report was based on unverified information. Scope. Noun: 범위, 영역. The scope of the investigation has been widened. Execute. Verb: 실행하다, 수행하다. The military successfully executed a complex rescue operation. Offensive. Noun: 공세, 공격. The army launched a major offensive to recapture the territory. Simultaneous. Adjective: 동시에. There were simultaneous explosions in 3 different cities. Underscore. Verb: 강조하다, 분명히 보여주다. The tragedy underscores the need for better safety regulations. Engulf. Verb: 완전히 에워싸다, 휩싸다. The intense flames quickly engulfed the entire building. 시사용어 해설. 헤즈볼라. 레바논에 거점을 둔 이슬람 시아파 무장단체 겸 정당입니다. 이란의 강력한 지원을 받으며 이스라엘 및 서방 국가들과 군사적 마찰을 빚는 중동 내 주요 비국가 행위자, non-state actor로 분류됩니다. 2-2. Trump visits China for high-stakes summit with Xi Jinping. President Trump has arrived in Beijing with grand pomp and pageantry for a highly anticipated 2-day state visit to China. He is scheduled to hold a high-stakes summit with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, tackling complex issues such as tariffs, technological competition, the war in Iran, and the delicate relationship with Taiwan. Originally planned for March, the diplomatic trip was postponed due to the ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict, which continues to rattle the global economy. Trump was notably accompanied by a slew of U.S. tech industry titans, utilizing their presence to leverage negotiations. Trump publicly stated his intention to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic, emphasizing aggressive economic diplomacy. 2-3. UK High Court rules Home Secretary's asylum deal decision unlawful. A UK High Court judge has definitively ruled that the Home Secretary's decision to reduce legal protections for potential trafficking victims was entirely unlawful. This controversial reduction in safeguards was intended to facilitate removals under the UK-France one-in, one-out asylum agreement. The judicial verdict serves as a severe blow to the government's strict immigration policies, highlighting the persistent clash between border control and human rights. Human rights advocates overwhelmingly welcomed the ruling, arguing that vulnerable asylum seekers must not be treated as political bargaining chips. This legal precedent mandates that basic human protections cannot be arbitrarily stripped away through bilateral political deals. Vocabulary. Definitively. Adverb. 확고하게. 최종적으로. The evidence definitively proved the suspect's innocence. Unlawful. Adjective. 불법적인. 위법한. Selling stolen goods is a strictly unlawful activity. Facilitate. Verb. 용이하게 하다. 촉진하다. The new software will facilitate faster communication between teams. Persistent. Adjective. 지속적인. 끈질긴. He suffered from a persistent cough that lasted for weeks. Clash. Noun. 충돌. 대립. There was a violent clash between the protesters and the police. Overwhelmingly. Adverb. 압도적으로. The proposal was overwhelmingly approved by the board. Vulnerable. Adjective. 취약한. 상처받기 쉬운. The elderly are particularly vulnerable to the extreme heat. Arbitrarily. Adverb. 자의적으로. 독단적으로. Rules should not be applied arbitrarily without proper justification. 시사용어 해설. Asylum seeker. 망명 신청자. 본국에서의 박해, 전쟁 등을 피해 다른 나라로 도피하여 국제적 보호를 요청하는 사람을 뜻합니다. 난민. Refugee. 지위를 공식적으로 인정받기 전의 상태에 있는 자들을 지칭합니다. 3. ABC Australia. 3-1. Vape ads still prevalent on social media despite 2-year ban. Although Australia implemented a stringent ban on vape advertising over 2 years ago, promotional content remains alarmingly prevalent across major social media networks. Posts promoting illegal vaping products continuously appear on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, blatantly bypassing existing algorithmic filters. Health experts are expressing profound concern, stating that these tech giants aren't doing the job they promised they would do in curbing illicit advertisements. The constant exposure to these ads disproportionately affects younger demographics, raising serious public health alarms. Consequently, there is growing societal pressure on the government to hold digital platforms strictly accountable for hosting illegal content. Vocabulary. Stringent. Adjective. 엄격한. The government introduced stringent measures to control inflation. Prevalent. Adjective. 만연함, 널리 퍼진. Respiratory diseases are highly prevalent in polluted cities. Blatantly. Adverb. 노골적으로, 뻔뻔하게. He blatantly ignored the clear warning signs on the road. Bypass. Verb. 우회하다. Hackers found a way to bypass the system's security firewall. Profound. Adjective. 깊은, 심오함. The discovery had a profound impact on modern medicine. Curb. Verb. 억제하다. Strict policies were enacted to curb carbon emissions. Illicit. Adjective. 불법적인.
The police confiscated a large amount of illicit drugs. Accountable. Adjective. 책임이 있는. Corporations must be held accountable for environmental damage. Keywords. Big Tech, 빅테크, 구글, 메타, 페이스북, 인스타그램, 틱톡 등 IT 산업을 주도하는 거대 기술 기업들을 지칭합니다. 플랫폼 내 불법 제품 광고 방치 문제로 인해 이들에 대한 강력한 법적 규제 요구가 전 세계적으로 거세지고 있습니다.
3-2. Royal Commission investigates anti-Semitism and racism at Australian universities. The Australian Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion has officially turned its attention to alarming incidents of racism at national universities. The inquiry recently heard shocking testimony from a Jewish academic at UNSW who was subjected to Nazi salutes during class. This disturbing behavior highlights a pervasive undercurrent of discrimination that severely undermines the educational environment. The commission, led by the Honorable Virginia Bell, is systematically analyzing how institutions respond to such hate crimes. Ultimately, the hearings aim to formulate robust recommendations to guarantee social cohesion and protect vulnerable minority students on campuses. Vocabulary. Cohesion. Noun. 화합, 결속. Sports can promote social cohesion among diverse communities. Alarming. Adjective. 우려스러운, 걱정스러운. There has been an alarming increase in cybercrime recently. Testimony. Noun. 증언, 입증. The witness gave a compelling testimony during the murder trial. Subject to. Idiom. 뭐뭐를 당하게 하다. The academic was subjected to extreme verbal abuse online. Pervasive. Adjective. 만연한, 스며드는. Corruption is a pervasive problem in the developing nation. Undercurrent. Noun. 숨겨진 기류, 압류. There was a dangerous undercurrent of anger at the meeting. Systematically. Adverb. 체계적으로. The researchers systematically collected data over 5 years. Robust. Adjective. 탄탄한, 강력한. The economy showed robust growth in the third quarter. 시사 유머 해설. Anti-Semitism. 반유다주의. 유대인에 대한 편견, 차별, 혐오를 뜻하는 용어입니다. 글로벌 분쟁과 맞물려 각국 캠퍼스 내에서 유대인 학생이나 교수에 대한 차별 행위가 쟁점화되고 있습니다. Number 3. Labor maintains election lead. One Nation's support rebounds on primary vote. According to the latest Roy Morgan poll, the Australian Labor Party, ALP, maintains a decisive election-winning lead on a two-party preferred basis. Surprisingly, however, primary support for the right-wing One Nation Party surged by 5.5% to reach 28%, narrowly overtaking the ALP's 27.5%. This sudden rebound puts an end to weeks of declining popularity, following controversial remarks by One Nation's leader, Pauline Hanson. Concurrently, the government confidence rating dropped significantly, with a large majority of Australians believing the country is heading in the wrong direction. The complicated electoral math suggests fierce upcoming battles in specific regional electorates where minor parties are gaining remarkable traction. Vocabulary. Decisive. Adjective. 결정적인. 단호한. The general won a decisive victory in the final battle. Primary. Adjective. 주요한. 일차적인. My primary concern is the safety of the children. Surge. Verb. 급증하다. 밀려들다. Online sales tend to surge during the holiday season. Rebound. Noun. 반등. 회복. The stock market experienced a quick rebound after the crash. Concurrently. Adverb. 동시에. He is studying concurrently for 2 separate master's degrees. Electoral. Adjective. 선거에. The candidate completely reshaped his electoral campaign strategy. Electorate. Noun. 선거구. 유권자. The politician spent months visiting every electorate in the state. Traction. Noun. 견인력. 지지. The new environmental policy is slowly gaining traction among voters. 시사 용어 해설. Primary vote. 1차 투표 지지율. 호주 선거 제도에서 유권자가 가장 선호하는 정당의 1순위로 기표한 비율을 의미합니다. 호주는 선호 투표제, preferences를 채택하고 있어 1차 투표 1위가 반드시 최종 승리를 의미하지는 않습니다. 4. The Korea Times. 4-1. Former President Yoon Suk-yeol sentenced to 2 years in prison. A Seoul district court has handed down a formidable 2-year prison sentence to former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. The judiciary found the former leader partially guilty of accepting illegal political funds orchestrated by a self-proclaimed power broker. Specifically, this illicit support manifested in the form of free public opinion polls provided during his political campaign, clearly violating election finance laws. The presiding judge firmly noted that such corrupt actions severely undermined the transparency and integrity of the democratic electoral process. This high-profile conviction underscores the South Korean judiciary's uncompromising stance on rooting out political corruption at the absolute highest echelons of government. Vocabulary. Formidable. Adjective. 만만찮은. 무서운. The athlete faced a formidable opponent in the championship match. Orchestrate. Verb. 복잡한 계획을 조직하다. The rebel group managed to orchestrate a massive cyber attack. Self-proclaimed. Adjective. 자칭이. The self-proclaimed expert failed to answer basic questions. Manifest. Verb. 나타나다. 분명해지다. His frustration began to manifest in his aggressive behavior. Presiding. Adjective. 주재하는. The presiding judge called for order in the noisy courtroom. Undermine. Verb. 훼손하다. 약화시키다. Constant criticism can slowly undermine a child's confidence. Integrity. Noun. 총명. 진실성. The politician is widely respected for his absolute integrity. Echelon. Noun. 조직의 계층. 지위. Corruption was discovered in the upper echelons of the corporation. 시사용어 해설. Opinion poll. 여론조사. 선거 판세를 분석하거나 정책에 대한 국민의 뜻을 알아보기 위해 실시하는 조사입니다. 선거 후보자에게 억대의 여론조사를 무상으로 제공하는 행위는 선거법상 불법 정치자금 기부로 간주되어 무겁게 처벌받습니다.
4.2. BOK sees AI-driven chip supercycle continuing, dismisses peak-out concerns. The Bank of Korea, BOK, confidently projects that the global semiconductor industry will continue riding a prolonged AI-driven supercycle. The central bank explicitly dismissed growing market concerns about a potential peak-out in chip demand, citing robust structural growth. The relentless expansion of AI data centers worldwide ensures an insatiable appetite for advanced memory components like HBM. Validating this optimistic outlook, South Korea's exports surged by a staggering 54% in the first 10 days of July, largely propelled by strong semiconductor shipments. This technological boom is expected to serve as a crucial economic engine for the country, generating significant corporate revenue and tax windfalls. Vocabulary. Explicitly. Adverb. 명쾌하게, 명시적으로. The manual explicitly states how to operate the heavy machinery. Dismiss. Verb. 일축하다, 기각하다. The CEO quickly dismissed the rumors of a company buyout. Robust. Adjective. 탄탄한, 튼튼한. The company reported robust sales growth in the overseas market. Relentless. Adjective. 끈질긴, 가차없는. The relentless rain caused severe flooding in the downtown area. Insatiable. Adjective. 만족할 줄 모르는. The young boy has an insatiable curiosity about the universe. Staggering. Adjective. 놀라운, 충격적인. The tech startup achieved a staggering profit in its first year. Propel. Verb. 나아가게 하다, 추진하다. Strong winds helped propel the sailboat across the ocean. Windfall. Noun. 뜻밖의 횡재, 예상치 못한 소득. The government enjoyed a tax windfall due to the economic boom. 시사용어 해설. Supercycle, 슈퍼사이클. 원자재나 특정 산업 제품의 가격이 장기적으로 상승하는 대세 상승장을 뜻합니다. AI 산업의 폭발적 성장으로 인해 고성능 반도체 수요가 공급을 초과하는 현상이 수년간 지속되는 상황을 일컫습니다.
4.3. Hyundai Motor workers begin 3-day partial strike over pay dispute. Unionized workers at Hyundai Motor have initiated a 3-day partial strike following a bitter dispute over pay and working conditions. The labor union is aggressively demanding substantial wage hikes and an extension of the retirement age, arguing that workers deserve a fairer share of the company's record-breaking profits. Management, however, has balked at the demands, citing the need to maintain global cost competitiveness amid shifting automotive trends. This industrial action marks a significant disruption to manufacturing operations, threatening to bottleneck production lines for popular vehicle models. Industry analysts fear that prolonged labor unrest could severely dent the automaker's export volumes and overall profitability. Vocabulary. Unionized. Adjective. 노동조합에 가입된. The unionized factory workers voted overwhelmingly for the strike. Initiate. Verb. 시작하다. 개시하다. The company will initiate a new recycling program next month. Substantial. Adjective. 상당한. 실질적인. He inherited a substantial amount of money from his grandfather.
Bulk. Verb. 멈칫하다. 꺼리다. Consumers often balk at paying high prices for organic food. Automotive. Adjective. 자동차에. The automotive industry is rapidly shifting toward electric vehicles. Disruption. Noun. 중단, 차질. The snowy weather caused a massive disruption to flight schedules. Bottleneck. Verb/noun. 병목을 일으키다, 장애물. A shortage of parts bottlenecked the entire smartphone production. Profitability. Noun. 수익성. Cutting unnecessary expenses will immediately improve profitability. 주시용어 해설. Partial strike. 부분 파업. 전면 파업과 달리 하루 중 특정 시간, 예를 들어 2시간, 4시간만 조업을 중단하는 쟁유행위입니다. 사용자 측에 타격을 주면서도 노조원들의 임금 손실, 무노동 무임금 원칙을 최소화하기 위한 전술로 흔히 사용됩니다.
5. The Korea Herald. 5-1. Allies hold first tabletop exercise against wartime disinformation. South Korea and the United States recently conducted their first joint tabletop exercise dedicated exclusively to countering foreign disinformation and coordinating strategic communications during a wartime crisis. Led by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the drill assembled officials from various defense and civilian agencies to work through highly simulated threat scenarios. The primary operational focus was on rapidly identifying fake news campaigns and challenging hostile narratives with clear, unified public messaging. According to military experts, modern conflict has evolved far beyond physical destruction to fundamentally reshaping public perception, a complex domain known as cognitive warfare. The Allies plan to seamlessly integrate the critical lessons learned from this exercise into future large-scale military drills. Vocabulary. Tabletop. Adjective. 도상. 지도 위에서 하는. The emergency response team conducted a tabletop disaster simulation. Exclusively. Adverb. 독점적으로. 오로지. This private lounge is exclusively for first-class passengers. Disinformation. Noun. 허위 정보. The government launched a campaign to combat online disinformation. Simulated. Adjective. 모의의, 가상의. The pilots trained in a highly realistic simulated environment. Hostile. Adjective. 적대적인. The troops encountered a hostile environment in the dense jungle. Narrative. Noun. 서사, 이야기. The media's narrative greatly shaped the public's view of the event. Cognitive. Adjective. 인지적인.
Reading regularly is very beneficial for children's cognitive development. Integrate. Verb. 통합하다. The school plans to integrate more technology into the curriculum. 시사 용어 해설. Cognitive warfare. 인지전. 물리적인 무기를 넘어 소셜미디어나 가짜뉴스 등을 활용해 적국의 여론을 분열시키고 뇌 속의 인식을 조작하는 새로운 형태의 심리전을 뜻합니다. 누가 더 강력한 이야기를 제공하는가가 승패의 핵심이 됩니다. 5-2. Panel to hold final negotiations on next year's minimum wage. The Minimum Wage Commission, MWC,
is convening its crucial final plenary meeting to determine the nation's minimum hourly wage for the upcoming year. This trilateral panel, comprising representatives from labor, management, and the general public, is legally obligated to conclude its intense deliberations by mid-July. Labor and management have painstakingly narrowed their initial wage gap down to a mere 691 difference, yet both sides remain fiercely deadlocked over the final figure. Consequently, the public interest representatives are widely expected to propose a specific deliberation facilitation range to force an agreement. If a consensus cannot be reached, the deeply polarized matter will inevitably be put to a final vote. Vocabulary. Convene. Verb. 소집하다, 모이다. The committee will convene tomorrow to discuss the new budget. Plenary. Adjective. 전원 출석의 총회. The resolution was passed unanimously during the plenary session. Trilateral. Adjective. 삼자의. The leaders signed a trilateral security pact during the summit. Painstakingly. Adverb. 공들여. 힘들게. The artist painstakingly restored the ancient painting over months. Deadlock. Verb/noun. 교착 상태에 빠지다. The negotiations have deadlocked over the issue of salary increases. Facilitation. Noun. 촉진, 조장. The mediator's role is the facilitation of peaceful dialogue. Consensus. Noun. 의견 일치, 합의. It is difficult to reach a consensus on such a controversial topic. Inevitably. Adverb. 불가피하게. The rising cost of materials will inevitably lead to higher prices. 시사 용어 해설. Deliberation facilitation range. 심의 촉진 구간. 노사 간의 입장 차이가 좁혀지지 않을 때 정부 측 공익위원들이 하한선과 상한선을 정해 제시하는 범위입니다. 이 구간 내에서만 수정안을 내게 하여 강제로 타협을 유도하는 방식입니다. 5.3. Korean firms moving beyond AI pilot projects. Google. South Korean enterprises are rapidly moving beyond mere artificial intelligence pilot projects and structurally embedding the technology into their core operations, according to Google Korea executives. Speaking at the Google AI for Business 2026 event, they highlighted that Korea has evolved into a highly competitive battleground for global AI powerhouses. Major corporations like Samsung Electronics and CJ Olive Young are proactively deploying AI platforms, such as Gemini Enterprise, to boost daily productivity. Employees are no longer just searching for information, they are leveraging customized AI agents to solve complex problems independently. This decisive shift illustrates that Korean companies now fiercely demand measurable returns on investment from their enterprise AI solutions. Vocabulary. Enterprise. Noun. 기업, 사업. He manages a large software enterprise with global reach. Embed. Verb. 단단히 박다, 끼워 넣다. The journalist was embedded with the troops during the war. Powerhouse. Noun. 강자, 유력 집단. Germany is considered an economic powerhouse in Europe. Proactively. Adverb. 주도적으로, 사전 대책을 강구하여. We must act proactively to prevent the problem from worsening. Deploy. Verb. 배치하다, 효율적으로 사용하다. The police deployed extra officers to control the large crowd. Leverage. Verb. 활용하다. We must leverage our existing networks to find new clients. Customized. Adjective. 맞춤형이. The tailor made a fully customized suit for the groom. Measurable. Adjective. 측정 가능한. The marketing campaign resulted in a measurable increase in sales. ROI. Return on investment. 투자 수익률. AI 기술 도입 초기에는 그저 신기함에 투자했다면 이제는 명확한 이윤, ROI를 따지는 실용적 단계로 넘어갔음을 뜻합니다. 6. CGTN 6-1. Decade-long farce. The South China Sea Arbitration Award remains null and void. On the 10th anniversary of the highly contested South China Sea Arbitration Award, China staunchly reiterated its long-standing position that the ruling remains illegal, null, and void. The Chinese Foreign Ministry fiercely condemned a joint statement issued by 14 countries, led by the United States, which praised the tribunal's controversial decision. Beijing asserts that external powers are deliberately invoking the award to justify a sustained military presence and encourage dangerous bloc confrontation in the region. A Chinese editorial sharply described the arbitration as a decade-long farce, designed primarily to internationalize localized maritime disputes. China maintains its steadfast commitment to resolving differences peacefully through direct bilateral consultations with involved neighboring nations. Vocabulary. Staunchly, adverb, 확고하게, 단호히. The senator staunchly defended his controversial health policy. Reiterate, verb, 되풀이하다, 반복하다. The CEO reiterated the importance of excellent customer service. Null and void, idiom, 무효인. The unfair contract was declared null and void by the judge. Invoke, verb, 들먹이다, 적용하다. The lawyer invoked the new privacy law to protect his client. Sustained, adjective, 지속적인. The project requires sustained effort over a period of several years. Confrontation, noun, 대치, 대립. The peaceful protest unfortunately turned into a violent confrontation. Farce, noun, 촌극, 웃음거리. The trial was criticized as a political farce by human rights groups. Steadfast, adjective, 변함없는, 확고한. She remained steadfast in her belief despite the heavy criticism. 시사 용어 해설. Null and void, 원천무효. 법적으로 처음부터 어떠한 효력도 발생하지 않음을 뜻하는 법률 용어입니다. 중국은 국제상설중재재판소 PCA가 내린 자신들에게 불리한 판결 자체를 아예 인정하지 않겠다는 외교적 수사로 이 표현을 즐겼습니다. 6-2. Event promoting Xi Jinping's book on governance held in Bishkek. A prominent diplomatic event promoting the 5th volume of Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, was successfully held in Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan. During panel sessions, distinguished guests exchanged constructive views on the profound political philosophies detailed within the book. The Chinese delegation generously presented Kyrgyz officials with copies of the text translated into both Kyrgyz and Russian to ensure wider accessibility. This strategic cultural exchange serves to significantly bolster bilateral ties and deepen mutual understanding between the neighboring countries. Analysts view this publication push as a soft power tool designed to expand China's ideological footprint across Central Asia. Vocabulary. Prominent. Adjective. 두드러진, 저명한. He is a prominent scientist in the field of genetic research. Governance. Noun. 통치, 국정운영. Good governance is essential for a country's economic development. Distinguished. Adjective. 저명한, 기품 있는. The university invited a distinguished panel of guest speakers. Constructive. Adjective. 건설적인. The manager provided constructive feedback to help the employee. Profound. Adjective. 심오한. The philosopher's teachings had a profound effect on his students. Generously. Adverb. 관대하게, 아낌없이. The billionaire generously donated to several local charities. Bolster. Verb. 강화하다, 지지하다. The government introduced measures to bolster the housing market. Ideological. Adjective. 이념적인, 사상적인. The two political parties have deep ideological differences. 시사 용어 해설. Soft power, soft power. 군사력이나 경제 제재 같은 물리적인 힘, hard power가 아니라 문화, 예술, 가치관, 이념 등을 통해 다른 국가의 마음을 이끌어내고 영향력을 행사하는 능력을 말합니다. 6-3-3. U.S. launches more strikes. Iran retaliates. Tankers hit in Hormuz. The U.S. military has vigorously carried out strikes against Iranian targets for a third consecutive night, severely heightening regional volatility. In direct retaliation, Iranian armed forces launched a barrage of missile and drone strikes against U.S. bases stationed across the Gulf. Complicating matters, President Donald Trump aggressively announced the reinstatement of a naval blockade on Iranian shipping and proposed charging transit fees in the Strait of Hormuz.
In a dangerous escalation, Iran attacked 2 UAE oil tankers transiting Omani territorial waters, resulting in at least 1 crew member's death. This continuous exchange of hostile fire essentially plunges the strategic waterway into a perilous state of armed conflict. Vocabulary: vigorously, adverb, 발랄하게, 맹렬히. The team vigorously defended their championship title this year. Consecutive, adjective, 연속적인. The company reported record profits for the 5th consecutive quarter. Barrage, noun, 일제사격, 세례. The politician faced a barrage of angry questions from reporters. Reinstatement, noun, 복귀, 복원. The labor union demanded the immediate reinstatement of fired workers. Blockade, noun, 봉쇄, 차단. The Navy established a strict blockade around the enemy port. Transit, verb/noun, 통과하다, 수송. The cargo ships must safely transit through the narrow canal. Perilous, adjective, 아주 위험한. The climbers faced a perilous journey to the mountain peak. Plunge, verb, 고꾸러지다, 빠뜨리다. The sudden news plunged the stock market into deep chaos. 시사용어 해설, naval blockade, 해상 봉쇄. 군함이나 기뢰 등을 동원하여 적국의 항구나 해안으로 선박이 출입하지 못하도록 물리적으로 차단하는 군사작전입니다. 전시국제법상 무력 행위로 간주되는 매우 강력한 제재 수단입니다.
Number 7. NHK World Japan. Number 7. 1. PM Takaichi seeks to strengthen security ties in Asia. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is executing a rapid-fire diplomatic campaign to build a comprehensive deterrence network amidst unprecedented global tensions. Through recent state visits to Vietnam and Australia, Japan is actively seeking to secure a stable supply of vital energy resources and critical minerals. Rather than pursuing a rigid NATO-style security arrangement, Tokyo focuses on forging overlapping strategic partnerships to generate collective strategic depth. Reports indicate that PM Takaichi will also visit India in July 2026 to deeply discuss cooperation in advanced technology and supply chain resilience. This multifaceted approach seamlessly integrates economic survival with robust national defense preparedness. Vocabulary: rapid fire, adjective, 쉴 새 없이 이어지는. The reporter asked a series of rapid-fire questions to the mayor. Deterrence, noun, 억제, 억지력. A strong military acts as an effective deterrence against attacks. Unprecedented, adjective, 전례 없는. The pandemic caused an unprecedented crisis in the global economy. Rigid, adjective, 뻣뻣한, 경직된. The military academy is known for its extremely rigid discipline. Overlapping, adjective, 중복되는, 겹치는. The two departments often struggle with overlapping responsibilities. Resilience, noun, 회복력, 탄력성. The city showed remarkable resilience after the devastating flood. Multifaceted, adjective, 다각적인. Solving climate change requires a multifaceted global approach. Preparedness, noun, 준비태세. The government increased its disaster preparedness ahead of the storm. 시사용어 해설, supply chain resilience, 공급망 회복력, 지정학적 갈등, 전염병, 자연재해 등 외부 충격으로 인해 부품이나 원자재 공급이 끊겼을 때 신속하게 다른 공급처를 찾아내어 정상 상태로 복구하는 능력을 말합니다. 7.2. Communities face uncertain future in quake-hit Noto. More than 2 years after a massive earthquake relentlessly struck the Noto Peninsula, the local communities still face a deeply uncertain future. While physical reconstruction work on damaged infrastructure is steadily progressing, rebuilding the social fabric of the local communities has proved exceptionally difficult. Many displaced residents, particularly the youth, have permanently relocated to urban centers, leaving behind a rapidly aging demographic. The severe economic disruption caused by the disaster has made it extremely hard for local businesses to reopen or thrive. Consequently, the ongoing struggle in Noto highlights the broader, systemic threat of depopulation facing rural Japan after natural calamities. Vocabulary: relentlessly,
Adverb. 가차없이, 끊임없이. The summer sun beat down relentlessly on the dry desert. Reconstruction. Noun. 재건, 복구. The reconstruction of the bridge will take at least 2 years. Exceptionally. Adverb. 유난히, 특별히. The exam was exceptionally difficult and many students failed. Displaced. Adjective. 쫓겨난, 난민이 된. Thousands of displaced families are living in temporary shelters. Permanently. Adverb. 영구적으로. Smoking can permanently damage your lungs and overall health. Thrive. Verb. 번창하다, 잘 자라다. Small businesses began to thrive after the tax cuts were enacted. Systemic. Adjective. 구조적인, 전체에 영향을 미치는. Inequality is often a systemic issue embedded in social policies. Depopulation. Noun. 인구 감소. Rural depopulation is a growing problem for the agricultural sector. 시사 용어 해설. Social fabric. 사회적 결속 구조. 직역하면 사회의 직물로 지역사회 구성원들을 하나로 묶어주는 유대감, 문화, 인간관계의 그물망을 의미합니다. 물리적인 건물을 다시 짓는 것보다 이것을 복구하는 것이 훨씬 더 어렵습니다.
7.3. Japan, Philippines. Take relations to new level. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is visiting Japan as an esteemed state guest, successfully taking bilateral relations to an entirely new level. During the high-profile summit, the two leaders formally agreed to drastically deepen their maritime security and defense cooperation. This strategic alignment is widely viewed as a coordinated effort to counter increasingly aggressive maritime expansion in the surrounding regional waters. Beyond lucrative economic investments and infrastructure projects, Tokyo and Manila are prioritizing a robust mutual defense posture. This pivotal diplomatic visit strongly reflects the ongoing structural realignment of alliances, ensuring a free and open Asia-Pacific region. Vocabulary. Esteemed. Adjective. 존중받는, 호평받는. We are honored to welcome such an esteemed guest to our university. Drastically. Adverb. 과감하게, 철저하게. The company's profits dropped drastically during the economic crisis. Alignment. Noun. 연합, 정렬. The new strategic alignment aims to improve regional stability. Counter. Verb. 반격하다, 대응하다. The military developed a new strategy to counter the drone attacks. Aggressive. Adjective. 공격적인. The invasive species is highly aggressive toward native plants. Lucrative. Adjective. 수익성이 좋은. Real estate can be a highly lucrative investment if done correctly. Posture. Noun. 태세, 자세. The country maintains a strong defensive posture against its rivals. Pivotal. Adjective. 중추적인, 중요한. She played a pivotal role in negotiating the successful peace treaty. 시사용어 해설. 스테이트 게스트, 국빈. 한 국가의 원수, 대통령 등이 다른 국가를 방문할 때 초청국 정부가 공식적인 최고의 예우를 갖추어 대우하는 귀빈을 뜻합니다. 의전의 급이 가장 높으며 양국 관계의 중요성을 상징합니다.
8. AlJazeera.com. 8-1. Oil hits 1-month high as U.S.-Iran fighting clouds Hormuz outlook. Global oil prices violently surged to a 1-month high on Monday, directly driven by a fierce exchange of heavy missile and drone attacks between the U.S. and Iran. The intense, escalating fighting has cast a dark cloud over the security of the Strait of Hormuz, an indispensable choke point for the world's crude oil supply. Tehran publicly asserted that it had successfully closed the strait in response to American military operations. Conversely, Washington stubbornly insisted it would act as the guardian of the waterway to ensure it remains freely open for international shipping. Financial analysts warn that any prolonged disruption to oil transit here could trigger a destructive ripple effect of inflation across the entire global economy. Vocabulary. Surge. Verb. 급등하다. 밀려들다.
Stock prices surged after the unexpectedly positive earnings report. Fierce. Adjective. 맹렬한, 격렬한. The two rival companies are engaged in fierce market competition. Indispensable. Adjective. 필수 불가결한. A reliable smartphone has become indispensable in modern society. Choke point. Noun. 요충지, 병목 구간. The canal is a critical choke point for
international maritime trade. Assert, verb. 주장하다, 단언하다. The lawyer firmly asserted his client's absolute innocence in court. Conversely, adverb. 반대로, 역으로. Older consumers prefer print, while conversely, teens prefer digital. Stubbornly, adverb. 완강하게, 고집스럽게. The stain stubbornly resisted all of our attempts to clean it off. Disruption, noun. 차질, 중단. The strike caused massive disruption to the public transport system. 시사 용어 해설. Ripple effect, 파급 효과. 잔잔한 호수에 돌을 던졌을 때 물결이 퍼져나가는 현상에 비유한 경제 용어입니다. 중동의 원유 수송 차질이 유가 상승을 넘어 물가 폭등, 금리 인상 등 경제 전반으로 연쇄적인 파장을 미치는 현상을 설명합니다. 8-2. Iraq seizes 375 kilograms of gold in sweeping anti-corruption crackdown. In a massive and sweeping anti-corruption crackdown, Iraqi judicial authorities have successfully uncovered and seized 375 kilograms of gold linked to a high-profile criminal case. The Supreme Judicial Council officially announced the extraordinary recovery on Monday, underscoring the government's resolute determination to combat deeply ingrained systemic graft. This staggering seizure vividly illustrates the sheer scale at which corrupt elites have been embezzling national wealth and laundering illicit funds. Iraqi citizens have widely celebrated this historic legal action, hoping it signals a genuine turning point for transparency. Meanwhile, public activists are vehemently demanding that all recovered assets be strictly returned to the state treasury for public benefit. Vocabulary. Sweeping. Adjective. 전면적인, 광범위한. The newly elected president promised sweeping changes to the law. Crackdown. Noun. 단속, 척결. The police launched a massive crackdown on illegal street racing. Resolute. Adjective. 단호한, 확고한. She remained resolute in her decision to resign from the company. Ingrained. Adjective. 깊이 팬, 뿌리 깊은. Racism is sadly a deeply ingrained problem in some communities. Graft. Noun. 뇌물수수, 부정부패. The mayor was eventually arrested for bribery and political graft. Embezzle. Verb. 횡령하다. The accountant managed to embezzle millions of dollars from the firm. Illicit. Adjective. 불법에. The police discovered a hidden warehouse full of illicit goods. Vehemently. Adverb. 열렬히, 격렬하게. The lawyer vehemently objected to the witness's misleading statement. 시사용어 해설. Money laundering, 돈 세탁. 범죄나 부정부패를 통해 얻은 검은 돈의 출처를 숨기고 합법적인 자산, 이 기사에서는 금, 이나 사업의 수익인 것처럼 꾸며 추적을 피하는 불법 경제 행위를 뜻합니다. 8-3. Iraqi PM arrives in U.S. seeking balance between security and economy. Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi has strategically arrived in the United States, seeking to carefully balance his nation's pressing security needs with vital economic development. He is scheduled to hold critical, high-stakes talks with President Trump, where robust energy investment is expected to heavily dominate the diplomatic agenda. Furthermore, the discussions will inevitably address the deeply contentious role of pro-Iran armed groups currently operating within Iraqi borders. Iraq finds itself navigating an exceptionally precarious diplomatic tightrope, trying to appease both Washington and Tehran while fiercely protecting its own fragile sovereignty. Experts suggest that securing American economic partnerships is absolutely crucial for rebuilding Iraq's war-torn infrastructure and stabilizing its economy. Vocabulary. Pressing. Adjective. 긴급한, 시급한.
Climate change is the most pressing environmental issue of our time. Dominate. Verb. 지배하다. 우위를 차지하다. The reigning champion continues to dominate the sports competition. Contentious. Adjective. 논쟁을 초래하는.
Immigration policy remains a highly contentious issue in the country. Navigate. Verb. 항해하다. 복잡한 상황을 헤쳐나가다. It is difficult to navigate the complex legal system without a lawyer. Precarious. Adjective. 불안정한, 위태로운. The injured climber was left in a highly precarious position on the cliff. Tightrope. Noun. 줄타기. 위태로운 상황. The CEO walked a tightrope between satisfying investors and employees. Appease. Verb. 달래다, 요구를 들어주다. The manager tried to appease the angry customer with a full refund. Sovereignty. Noun. 주권, 통치권. The nation fiercely defended its sovereignty against foreign invaders. 시사용어 해설. Diplomatic tightrope. 외교적 줄타기. 서커스에서 줄타기 고개를 하듯 서로 대립하는 두 강대국, 예 미국과 이란 사이에서 어느 한쪽으로 치우치지 않고 국익을 아슬아슬하게 챙기는 외교 전략을 비유하는 표현입니다. 9. CBC Canada. 9-1. Toronto police identify victims of deadly street festival shooting. Toronto police have officially identified the two male victims who were tragically killed in a brazen shooting during a crowded local street festival. The unexpected violence erupted right in the midst of a densely populated urban celebration, sending panicked attendees fleeing frantically for safety. This highly fatal incident has deeply shocked the community and swiftly reignited fierce national debates regarding the alarming rise of gun violence in major Canadian cities. Investigators are currently combing meticulously through surveillance footage and urgently requesting that any witnesses come forward with relevant information. Local politicians publicly offered their condolences and solemnly pledged to implement much stricter safety protocols for future public gatherings. Vocabulary. Brazen. Adjective. 뻔뻔한. 철면피해. The thieves carried out a brazen robbery in broad daylight. Densely. Adverb. 빽빽하게. 밀집하여. The city center is a densely populated commercial and residential area. Frantically. Adverb. 미친 듯이. 극도로 흥분하여. The mother searched frantically for her missing child in the mall. Reignite. Verb. 다시 불붙이다. The documentary helped to reignite public interest in the cold case. Comb through. Phrasal verb. 샅샅이 뒤지다. Detectives had to comb through thousands of documents for evidence. Meticulously. Adverb. 꼼꼼하게, 세심하게. She planned the wedding meticulously, down to the smallest detail. Condolence. Noun. 애도, 조의. The president offered his deepest condolences to the victims' families. Solemnly. Adverb. 엄숙하게. The soldiers stood solemnly as the national anthem was played loudly. Searching 유어. Gun violence. 총기 폭력. 총기를 사용해 타인에게 상해를 입히거나 살해하는 행위를 뜻합니다. 미국보다 총기 규제가 엄격한 캐나다에서도 최근 국경 밀수를 통한 불법 총기 반입으로 인해 대도시 폭력 조직 간 총격전이 심각한 사회 문제로 대두되고 있습니다. 9-2. Aging death row inmates highlighted in Florida executions. The recent execution of a 74-year-old prisoner in Florida's death chamber has sharply highlighted the nation's rapidly aging death row population. An even older, 80-year-old inmate who was convicted of a brutal double murder in 1986 is scheduled to die later this month, marking a rare milestone. This demographic shift is primarily caused by lengthy, decades-long legal appeals intentionally designed to ensure absolute constitutional protections. For human rights advocates, it vigorously renews profound ethical questions about the fundamental humanity of administering capital punishment to fragile inmates likely to die soon from natural causes. Conversely, victims' families argue that achieving delayed justice remains absolutely paramount, regardless of the perpetrator's advanced age. Vocabulary. Chamber. Noun. 특정 목적의 방, 회의실. The execution chamber was prepared for the tragic event. Convict. Verb. 유죄를 선고하다.
the jury decided to convict the defendant of all major charges. Milestone, noun, 중요한 단계, 획기적인 사건. Earning a college degree is a major milestone in a person's life. Demographic, adjective, 인구 통계학적인. The demographic shift towards an older population creates challenges. Lengthy, adjective, 너무 긴, 장황한. The politicians engaged in a lengthy debate about the new tax policy. Fragile, adjective, 부서지기 쉬운, 허약한. The patient remained in a very fragile condition after the surgery. Paramount, adjective, 가장 중요한, 최고의. Safety must always be of paramount importance in the workplace. Perpetrator, noun, 가해자, 범인. The police are actively searching for the perpetrator of the robbery. 시사용어 해설. Death row, 사형수 수감구역. 법원에서 사형, capital punishment을 선고받은 죄수들이 실제 형이 집행될 때까지 대기하며 갇혀있는 교도소 내 특별구역을 뜻합니다. On death row는 사형 대기 중이라는 의미로 쓰입니다.
9-3. U.S. Ebola patient admitted to German hospital. A U.S. citizen tragically infected with the Bundibugyo variant of the Ebola virus while working for a humanitarian organization in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been admitted to Frankfurt University Hospital. The patient arrived securely at the hospital's specialized isolation unit early Monday morning and is currently reported to be in stable condition. Hospital officials quickly reassured the anxious public that there is absolutely no risk of transmission, as the facility is structurally and organizationally separated from the main hospital. This medical evacuation comes as the terrifying Ebola outbreak in Congo continues to worsen exponentially. Public health institutes report that confirmed cases have brutally surged by almost 40% in just a week, pushing the grim death toll past 700. Vocabulary. Variant. Noun. 변종, 이형. A new and highly contagious variant of the virus has emerged. Humanitarian. Adjective. 인도주의적인. The NGO is focused on providing humanitarian aid to war refugees. Isolation. Noun. 격리, 구립. The sick patient was kept in strict isolation to prevent spreading. Reassure. Verb. 안심시키다. The doctor tried to reassure the worried mother about the surgery. Transmission. Noun. 전염, 전파. Wearing a mask significantly reduces the transmission of the virus. Evacuation. Noun. 대피, 후송. The government ordered a mass evacuation before the hurricane hit. Exponentially. Adverb. 기하급수적으로. The popularity of the app grew exponentially within just a few weeks. Grim. Adjective. 암울한, 끔찍한. The economic forecast paints a very grim picture for the next year. 시사용어 해설. Isolation unit. 격리병동. 전염성이 매우 강한 치명적인 질병, 예를 들어 에볼라, 코로나19 등을 앓고 있는 환자를 일반 환자나 의료진으로부터 완벽하게 차단하여 치료하기 위해 특수하게 설계된 병실입니다. 병동 내 공기가 밖으로 나가지 못하게 하는 음압, negative pressure, 시설이 주로 갖추어져 있습니다. 10. DD India. 10-1. India and Poland hold high-level talks to expand cooperation. India and Poland recently engaged in highly productive high-level diplomatic talks in New Delhi, forcefully reaffirming their mutual commitment to expanding bilateral cooperation. The comprehensive discussions primarily focused on strengthening strategic partnerships across crucial sectors, including trade, advanced technology, and defense. Both nations also strongly emphasize the undeniable importance of vibrant cultural exchange and joint counterterrorism efforts to ensure lasting regional stability. This pivotal strategic meeting thoroughly highlights India's ongoing ambitious efforts to diversify its diplomatic ties and significantly enhance its economic footprint in Central Europe. Policy experts firmly suggest that such modern alliances will prove mutually beneficial, fostering technological innovation and boosting international trade volumes. Vocabulary. Reaffirm. Verb. 재확인하다. The two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to the peace treaty. Bilateral. Adjective. 양자 간의, 쌍방의. Bilateral trade between the two nations reached a record high. Comprehensive. Adjective. 포괄적인, 종합적인. The committee published a comprehensive report on climate change. Vibrant.
Adjective. 활기찬, 생동감 넘치는. The city is famous for its vibrant nightlife and cultural festivals. Counterterrorism. Noun. 대테러. The nations agreed to share intelligence for counterterrorism. Footprint. Noun. 입지, 발자취. The tech giant is expanding its global footprint in Asian markets. Mutually. Adverb. 상호간에. The partnership proved to be mutually beneficial for both startups. Foster. Verb. 조성하다, 촉진하다. The workshop was designed to foster creativity among young artists. 시사 용어 해설. Bilateral 협력. 단 두 개의 국가가 1대1로 맺는 외교적, 경제적 협력을 뜻합니다. 세 개 이상의 여러 국가가 동시에 참여하는 협정이나 회의는 multilateral, 다자간이라고 부르며 구분합니다.
Number 10. 2. India's merchandise exports rise nearly 16% in Q1 of FY27. India's total exports, brilliantly comprising both merchandise and services, registered a highly robust growth of 11.37% during the first quarter of the current financial year. The estimated export value impressively reached $232.73 billion from April to June 2026, marking a substantial jump compared to the $208.98 billion recorded in the previous year. Focusing specifically on merchandise exports, the sector experienced an extraordinary surge of nearly 16%, vividly showcasing the dynamic vitality of India's manufacturing capabilities. Concurrently, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal swiftly dismissed pessimistic reports alleging a deadlock in the proposed India-US bilateral trade agreement. He categorically labeled such rumors as false, asserting that critical negotiations between the two economic giants are progressing remarkably well. Vocabulary. Comprise. Verb. 구성하다, 포함하다. The committee is comprised of experts from various scientific fields. Merchandise. Noun. 상품, 제품. The store offers a wide range of official sports merchandise. Robust. Adjective. 탄탄한, 튼튼한. The company reported robust sales growth in the overseas market. Vitality. Noun. 활력, 생명력. Regular exercise and a good diet can restore your youthful vitality. Concurrently. Adverb. 동시에. He is studying concurrently for 2 separate master's degrees. Pessimistic. Adjective. 비관적인. The economic report offered a pessimistic outlook for the next quarter. Allege. Verb. 혐의를 제기하다, 주장하다. The prosecutor alleged that the politician accepted illegal bribes. Categorically. Adverb. 단호하게, 절대적으로. The famous actor categorically denied the scandalous rumors. 시사용어 해설. Financial year. 회계연도. 국가나 기업이 예산을 짜고 결산하는 1년 단위의 기간입니다. 인도의 회계연도는 매년 4월 1일에 시작하여 이듬해 3월 31일에 끝납니다. 따라서 인도의 1분기, Q1는 4월과 6월을 뜻합니다. 10.3. India-Japan review defense cooperation at 8th Policy Dialogue. India and Japan successfully held their 8th Defense Policy Dialogue in Tokyo on Monday, meticulously reviewing the steady progress of their bilateral defense cooperation. High-ranking defense officials from both sides engaged in deep discussions aimed at bolstering regional security architectures against emerging geopolitical threats. During the dialogue, the two Asian democracies strongly reaffirmed their unwavering commitment to further strengthening the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership. This increasing military alignment is widely interpreted as a necessary counterbalance to the rapid and aggressive maritime expansion of other regional powers. By expanding joint military exercises and technology sharing, New Delhi and Tokyo are solidifying a formidable alliance dedicated to a free and open Indo-Pacific. Vocabulary. Meticulously. Adverb. 꼼꼼하게, 세심하게. She planned the wedding meticulously, down to the smallest detail. Bolster. Verb. 강화하다, 지지하다. The government introduced measures to bolster the housing market. Unwavering. Adjective. 확고한, 흔들림 없는. He showed unwavering support for his friend during difficult times. Alignment. Noun. 연합, 정렬.
The new strategic alignment aims to improve regional stability. Counterbalance. Noun. 규명추, 대항 세력. The new law acts as a counterbalance to executive power. Aggressive. Adjective. 공격적인. The invasive species is highly aggressive toward native plants. Solidify. Verb. 굳히다, 확고히 하다. The impressive victory helped solidify her position as the team leader. Formidable. Adjective. 어마어마한, 만만치 않은. The athlete faced a formidable opponent in the championship match. 시사용어 해설. Policy dialogue. 정책 대화. 두 국가의 장관급이나 차관급 고위 관료들이 정기적으로 만나 외교, 국방, 경제 등 특정 분야의 정책 방향성을 조율하고 협력 방안을 논의하는 공식적이고 정례화된 회의체를 말합니다.